Hanukkah. Sighing. 1. The sighing and groaning that the Ish Ha-Yisraeli does is very precious, for it brings completion to anything that is lacking. But the sighing only brings completion to whatever is lacking if he is a follower of the Zadok, who is the true Rav of the era. For the Ruach Hayim, spirit of life, is received from him, to bring completion to the lackings by means of sighing. Likutei Maharan 8, see Zadok Hash 11. 2. A person may be praying properly or doing hitbodejit, talking to God, when meanwhile he falls from the level he is at. This is caused by some flaw in his faith. He should feel a broken heart and embarrassment. How could he fall from heaven to earth? He should have pity on himself to the point that he sighs, and the sigh would bring him back to his level. 108. 3. How precious when you sigh out of longing for something holy. The sigh you let out because you are far from holiness breaks the bonds of impurity and ties you with the bonds of holiness. But the opposite is true if you sigh for some craving. God forbid. 109. 4. One sigh of regret for your sins or how little you've attained in perceptions of godliness is worth more than many acts of self-deprivation and fasts. Ibid. See more regarding sighing in Azut number 2-3. Because sighing for something holy can actually break the bodily Azut, brazenness. Then the soul can approach the body and inform it something of her perceptions of God and so forth. See there. Achila, eating. 1. Eating in a kosher, proper way, when you eat deliberately and don't just gulp it down, this repairs your intellect and subdues folly. But when someone eats like a glutton and drunkard, then the foolishness overwhelms the intellect and the light of the Zadok becomes dim for him, and he cannot receive from him the fear and the love of God. 17-2. 3. 2. Giving charity to true Zadokim and to poor people who are genuinely deserving causes converts to be made and the blemish in eating to be repaired. Then your intellect is completed and you will be privileged to see the light of the Zadok, which will make you privileged to receive the fear and the love from him. Ibid. 3. When a person attains perfect mastery of the holy tongue and guards the holy covenant, he has the power to arouse the sparks of all the letters that exist throughout everything. Then his eating and drinking and other enjoyments comes only from the sparking of the letters, which makes his heart shine, causing his face to shine. Then he reaches where his face is so pure that other people are moved to repentance just by seeing his face. For whoever looks at his face sees his own reflected there as if in a mirror, and sees how deep in the dark he is, to the point that without any rebuke or moral teaching he arouses the other to repentance just by seeing his face. 19. 7-9. 4. When someone feels a kind of hunger that is an urgent craving, he should know there are forces that hate him, so he has to attack and break his beastly urge to eat, because this hunger is being caused by the beastly part of his nature. Then he'll be safe from the forces that hate him. 39. 5. Craving food brings strife on a person. People will insult and despise him. But a person who breaks the love of food attains peace, and then there will also be peace in the realms above. Then a great contentment in the world will reveal itself and flourish. Ibid. 6. Whoever is sunk in the love of food, it is certain that he is far from the truth, and it is certain that he's under the force of heavenly judgments. It's also a sign of coming poverty, and that he will be subject to disgrace and shame. 47. 7. Whoever breaks the love of food, the Holy Blessed One will perform miracles through him. Ibid. 8. There are people who sleep away all their days. Some have fallen in the category of sleep through cravings and bad deeds, and some are kosher, decent people, except that their downfall is from eating. Because sometimes when a person eats a food that isn't refined to the level of man's food, it causes his mind to fall in a kind of sleep. For when you eat in a sanctified way, food that is pure, It lights up your face, meaning your intellect. But when someone's eating is not sanctified, then the food brings evil upon his heart, causing the loss of this face and intellect, and he falls into a kind of sleep, even if everyone thinks he is serving Hashem and involved in Torah and prayer. Nevertheless, he is in the category of sleep, because all his service stays down below and Hashem Yitbarek has no satisfaction from it. He needs to be awakened from his sleep, but it's impossible to awaken him unless he first has a bit of awakening by himself. The awakening from sleep so that people don't waste their days, God forbid, in sleep, is achieved by the true tzaddik storytelling. Fortunate is whoever can come to a tzaddik like this that can awaken him from his sleep, to not sleep away all his days. God forbid. 60-6. 9. The food for Ish Ha-Yisraeli needs to first be refined of any impurity of the Sitra Achra, because food that has impurities can cause a person to make mistakes. The refinement of the food is by faith, which is attained by fasting, and then his eating causes the unification of the Holy Blessed One and his divine presence. Face to face. 62-1. 2. 5. 10. All cravings are aspects of klipat, husks, and motero, excess, waste, because the body could survive without the cravings. When a person is hit by cravings, the holiness is being attacked by the klipat. The chief cravings are the food and drink cravings, because all the other cravings derive from them. When they gain power, they drag a person's speech into exile, and then he is in the category of peas. 69-4. My throat has become dry, and he is unable to say any words to Hashem Yitbarek. The remedy for this is fasting. Then he'll be able to speak. Through this, one can bring those who are far toward Hashem Yitbarek, which is the main thing that makes the faith complete. Then, his eating is a very precious thing, as explained above, for his eating causes a superb unification as mentioned. Ibid. 3-5. 11. Eating greedily damages the honor of that which is holy. Then the brazen-faced, unabashed tyrants gain strength, because the honor falls to heathen nations, the wicked, and the brazen-faced of the generation who gain all the respect and power. And then it's the category of hiding his face, the category of tragic decrees prevailing. God forbid. But when we break the craving of food, then it's the lifting of his face upon us, the category of canceling the severe decrees. Then the holy honor is made whole, and the brazen-faced have no power or authority. 67-2. 3. 12. You have to be very exact and eat no more than you need, because when one eats more than his need, it does him great harm. For even the food that he needed joins together with that food and they do him severe damage. 257. 13. When a person eats too much, he is like a beast, because what defines a man is eating just what he needs, so eating more than that is really what a beast does. And overeating can cause fever. Kadachat. Lev. 26-16. God forbid. Also, if what the man eats contains some food that is insufficiently pure to be man's food, this can also cause that sickness. God forbid. 263. 14. Greed for food is one of the three cravings that damage and destroy the heart's reverence. But proper celebration of Sukkot gives you an awareness that repairs the greed for food. Then you can attain reverence and prayer. 2:1-4. 5. 15. Sometimes the food someone eats brings him a bad dream. In the category of beer. 55b. A dream sent by a demon, God forbid, which could cause a nocturnal emission. God forbid. To correct this, just be happy. Bolster yourself to be constantly happy. 5:10. 16. Whoever is privileged to follow a true rabbi who is able to properly illumine the awareness of the holy HaKadosh for the Israelite people, and he himself is a successful person. Ish Hayel. and not the opposite, a schleimazelnik, unfortunate, loser. This makes him able to receive an extraordinary revelation of the divine will when he eats. Meaning, the divine will lights up for him while eating. And he has such a powerful yearning and longing for Hashem Yitbarek that it's infinite beyond comprehension. He has no idea what he wants. He has just a simple consuming desire toward his blessedness. Ibid. 17. Bodily nourishment, meaning the urge for food and drink, can weaken a person's spiritual nourishment, damaging his reverence, which is the category of a good smell. Reyach Tav, which is the essence of spiritual nourishment. 2:8-1. 18. By accepting rebuke from the true Tzaddik, who is able to properly rebuke Yisrael. As explained there, we make the spiritual nourishment gain strength over the physical nourishment. Ibid. 19. A main purpose of eating is for the barorim, clarifying, refining and extraction, in order to refine the food, transforming it into fine speech, which are the blessings that are said over it, and the prayer, the learning, and serving Hashem Yitbarek by the power of the food. Everyone needs to have these intentions when eating, and then the food becomes the aspect of the incense and he attains happiness. And this becomes a crown of loving kindness and goodness for King Shlomo, of which it says, Song 3:11, go out and see the crown, and this makes his livelihood come easily. 16:20. Every Yisrael, even the greatest tzaddik, has to go through some suffering every day. The deeper his consciousness, the greater his pain. But eating in sanctity and with the fear of heaven can help to sweeten this pain so it doesn't become overpowering. God forbid. 77:21. Eating with sanctity and fear of heaven brings your mouth to the status of Komat Adam, the image of God. Then you'll be privileged that the Shekinah could speak out of your throat. But whoever does not eat in sanctity, his mouth is in the animal realm. Behold, he's just like an animal. God forbid. Ibid. 22. When you are eating, it is one of the main times when the fear of heaven comes and approaches you. Therefore you should take great care to eat in sanctity and draw upon yourself the reverence that's approaching you then you'll attain all the aforementioned. In number 20-21. Ibid. 23. Take great care to never eat a fruit before it has fully ripened on the tree, for it could kill a person's life. It is also forbidden to pick a fruit before it's ripe, just as it's forbidden to chop down a fruit tree before its time. 88:24. By properly making the blessing over fruit with intense concentration and with fear of heaven, you can avoid the dangers of unripe fruit. In fact, you need to be very careful with all the blessings of the enjoyments, food, drink, fragrances, etc., but especially with the blessings over fruit, because many lost items are actually present in the fruit of the tree. Deep mysteries, such as the transmigration of souls, are involved here. These lost objects need to be refined and elevated. See there. Ibid. 25. Cooking unripe fruit in order to make it fit for eating still doesn't help if the fruit did not ripen on the tree. But if unripe fruit is left for a time after it is picked until it ripens by itself, this does help and the fruit may be eaten. Ibid. 26. Be careful to not gulp down your food hurriedly like a glutton. It was Esau who said, Gen. 25-30, let me gulp some of this red pottage. Be in the habit of eating at a moderate pace, calmly and with the same table manners you would show if an important guest were present. You should always eat like this, even when you are eating alone. See above. Number 1. Fortunate is whoever achieves this. Chaye Maharan 515. Haknasat Aorchim. Hospitality. 1. Welcoming true Talmudei Chachamim, Torah scholars that are also expert in the hidden Torah, into your home brings you to acquire faith and to break the prevalent kephara, heresy and lack of belief. This elevates and repairs the fallen Torah of the unscrupulous Talmidei Chachamim, who are in the category of Jewish demons. See Zohar 3, 253a. They are the source of all the hostility towards those who fear Hashem. So this leads to defeat of the opposition. Likutei Maharan 28, 2. Offering hospitality to a Talmid Chacham repairs your prayers. Because everyone has offered some bad prayers, and they come back and confuse him when he stands up to pray a proper prayer. Welcoming and hosting the Talmid Chacham is a tikkun for this. 209. Aeretz Yisrael, the land of Yisrael. 1. The root of faith, which corresponds to prayer and miracles, is none other place than the land of Yisrael. That is the main place from where prayers ascend to heaven. Your prayers can achieve whatever is needed, and can accomplish true miracles and wonders in the world. Likutei Maharan 7-1. 2. When the land of Yisrael, which corresponds to faith and prayer, is abused, then we descend into exile. The main concern is prayer descending into exile. Then it is impossible to pray and to do miracles in the world. Ibid. 3. Whoever wants to really be an Ish Yisraeli, meaning someone who keeps going from one level to the next, can only achieve this through the land of Yisrael's holiness. Because every step that you need to ascend in holiness can only be accomplished through the land of Yisrael. Likewise, every ascension in prayer is only through the land of Yisrael. 20. Chaye Maharan 15. 4. In the merit of the Torah that we bring forth, we merit the land of Yisrael. Also, by being present with the Tzaddik while he is drawing forth Torah and then teaches it in public. Then we also have a portion in the Torah that the Tzaddik draws. And this also makes us merit getting into Eretz Yisrael. Ibid. 4, 6, 5. You can only get to Eretz Yisrael through hardships. The root of the hardships stems from the wicked detractors that publicize a bad image of the land. But drawing the Torah as mentioned subdues the detractors and hardships. The more complete the Torah that you merit to draw forth in greater tikkun, the more you merit subduing the detractors and getting into Eretz Yisrael. Ibid. 6, 10, 6. When a person has attained the aspect of Eretz Yisrael, he is called Gibber Takif, a man of strength and valor. Sifra Disniuta, Gen. 10-8, Ruth chapter 2 verse 1. For before he's attained the aspect of Eretz Yisrael, 1 Kings chapter 20 verse 11, he that girds his sword to fight shall not boast as he that ungirds it, having won the battle. But after, when he has won the battle, he's called Ish Milchama, man of war. I Sam 16:18. Ibid. 10:7. By giving charity to the land of Yisrael you become included in the air of the land of Yisrael, which is holy breath that has no taint of sin. Shabbat 119b. And this banishes the forces of severity, darkness etc. from the world. This also guards you against foreign thoughts during prayer and makes your mind and thoughts clear and pure, which is a type of tikkun habrit. 37-4, 44, 8. Eretz Yisrael is a segula, has a mystical power, for having children and for relief from divisiveness and strife. Also, the sanctity of the land of Yisrael will inform people who is the true rabbi of the era. Truth will spread throughout the world, and everyone will return to Hashem Yitbarek, even the nations of the world, to serve him. Zeph 3-9, with one consent. 48:9. Praying vigorously is the way to get to Eretz Yisrael. Another way is the Miswa of Sukkah, because Sukkah, vigorous prayer, and Eretz Yisrael are all one thing. They are all interdependent. Ibid. 10. The only way to see the downfall of the wicked is by the aspect of Eretz Yisrael. 55-1. 11. Praying in the proper way, as explained in prayer number 51-56, causes sparks of the patriarch's merits to flash forth. This allows us to feel the sanctity of Eretz Yisrael even today during the exile. Even when it's under the hand of the Sitra Achra, the forces of the other side, and her sanctity is hard to see. Nevertheless, even in this bitter exile, these sparks of the patriarch's merits reveals and draws to it. As her sanctity, the revelation of her sanctity lets us see the downfall of the wicked. Not only will we be delivered from their evil, we will see them suffer the very evil they sought to inflict upon us. All this is accomplished by evoking the favorable side of heaven, causing the Zadokam to escape. When we look for merits in the wicked ones, this also allows the Zadokam, the Osei Tab, doers of good, to see and to attain Panei Hashem, the face of God. Ibid. 2, 3, 8, 9, 11, 12. 12. The Miswa of separating Hala is also bound up with the inheriting Eretz Yisrael, because it allows us to draw the light of the patriarchs, which lets us reveal the sanctity of the Eretz Yisrael and attain all the aforementioned. Ibid. 8, 13. Whoever travels to Eretz Yisrael truly for the sake of heaven, to find or to get closer to Hashem Yitbarek, Eretz Yisrael will definitely benefit him a great deal, for just by entering why he is eaten by her. Num. 1332, and transformed by her sacred character. Therefore, even whoever walks 4 cubits in why will assuredly inherit the coming world. But whoever's motive is not at all for serving Hashem, to rid himself of his evil, then even dwelling in why will be of no use, for she spews him out. Allah. Lev. 1828. As it vomited out the nation that was before you. 129. 14. The sanctity of why will bring you to faith and thereby to Arahat Apayim. Long breath. Patience. Meaning you'll break the force of anger, sadness, lethargy, and heaviness. You'll just make yourself very quick in serving Hashem, and you'll let no detractors or obstacles hinder you, because you're Erik Apayim, patient, to endure anything. And see Imana number 34. 155. 15. You need to pray of Hashem Yitbarek, to have the desire and yearning for Eretz Yisrael until you merit to get there. And also that all the Tzaddikim should have yearning for Eretz Yisrael. This is a segula to cancel out anger and sadness. As mentioned, Ibid. 16. When Hashem Yitbarek pays back a person measure for measure, it is really a great kindness, so that the person can understand from it and examine his deeds. The essential place where this happens, most directly and precisely, is Eretz Yisrael. 187. 17. Eretz Yisrael is the supreme holiness comprising all the holinesses. There, we can free ourselves of the naturalistic viewpoint and come to know and believe that everything is by heavenly supervision alone, which is the summation of holiness. This can make us like the Blessed One, dividing between light and darkness. Then we can tell stories of true Zadokam, having the ability to discern the difference between stories of true Zadokam and the opposite of them. Then the stories of true Zadokam can purify our Mechashava, thoughts and thinking, and sweeten the evil decrees, saving us from all suffering. 234. 18. Where you should get the right moch, consciousness, vibe, and the chakma, wisdom, is only from Eretz Yisrael. Even those Yisrael that are outside the land, they receive or they suckle all their moch and chakma from why. Now, every Yisrael has a portion in why, so he suckles or receives his chakma from why according to his portion there. But when someone blemishes the honor of Hashem Yitbarek, God forbid, it causes the mochin of why to fall onto the mochin of the foreign lands, which causes controversy and strife. For the mochin of the foreign lands are the aspect of controversy. 271. 19. The mochin of Y have the quality of Noam, the quality of Namet Hadara, the pleasantness of the Torah, the quality of peace, charity, particularly charity for the land of Israel, makes a vessel to receive the influx of this Noam, and then one can repair even the mochin of the foreign lands. But when God forbid the mochin of the foreign lands are severely damaged by people dishonoring His blessedness, then they can't be repaired. On the contrary, these foreign land mochin even damage the mochin of Y, which are the quality of peace. And then there's strife even in Y. This is what's going on with the divisions today in Y being as deep as in the foreign lands. Ibid. 20. The graves of the true Tzaddikim have the exact same holiness as the Y. As it is written, Ps. 37-29. Tzaddikim inherit the land. Now, Y is a great remedy for abuse of the Berit. Therefore one must make an effort to come to their gravesites. For their gravesites are holy as mentioned. And this is a huge repair for damage to the Berit. 109. Beit. Berit. Covenant. Its damage and repair. 1. By Shmirat Habrit, guarding the purity of the Abrahamic covenant, you'll gain the ability to pray. In its twofold aspect, including both praise of God and asking one's needs. Like a double-edged sword. 2-2. 2. The basic drive of the Yetzer Hara, evil inclination, is for sexual promiscuity, this being the fundamental source of defilement. Zohar 3:15b. So you should know the main test of any man in this world is for this craving. Fortunate is whoever wins this war. Ibid. 6:3. Whoever has an awareness of himself that he has wasted the drops of his brain, meaning he wasted seed, needs to have mercy on himself and not let any of the controversy and divisiveness between the Tzaddikim enter his heart. He should just believe in all of them. The only reason why any questions and crookedness of heart fall on his mind about the Tzaddikim on account of the controversy between them is because he has wasted the drops of his brain, for had he not damaged his brain it wouldn't disturb him at all. The controversy is just for him. See Zadok number 8, 5-4. 4. The counsel of the true Tzaddikim and their students are the aspect of tikkun habrit, purity, whereas the advices of their smooth-talking opposers inciting and repelling people away from the point of truth are the aspect of pegam habrit, damage to purity, because the advice that someone gets from a person are like drops of intellect. Therefore whoever has damaged his Berit needs to be extremely careful to guard himself from the influence of these enemies of the truth, otherwise he could lose his eternal reward in an instant. God forbid. 7-3. 5. Wanton desire is mainly affected by what one sees. And the miswa of tzitzit are a protection against this. It saves you from the above-mentioned evil counsel and makes you able to receive the true advices of the true Tzaddikim. So you need to be extremely careful to do the miswa of tzitzit. Also have the intention when you're doing their wrapping and blessing that you should attain Shmirat Habrit, guarding the Berit's purity, and true good advice. This will lead you to faith and Eretz Yisrael and will draw the redemption closer. So you can attain prayer and miracles and wonders in the world, as well as livelihood. For livelihood primarily depends on tikkun habrit, and this will bring you to understand any part of Torah you're studying, and all the wisdoms will be revealed to you like a set table. Ibid. 1:4-5-6. Pride and promiscuity go hand in hand. So by being shomer habrit a person can rid himself of pride and find the light that will guide him back to God. 11-3. 7. A main cause of bitter struggle in order to make a livelihood, and why the man toils so much, is because of pegam habrit. For whoever is shomer his Berit, even though he does work and commerce, it's like the Mishkan construction, consisting of 39 lights. But he that is pajem the Barat is pursued by poverty, and he takes the yoke of bitter struggle on himself, like the 39 lashes. Dut. 25, 2-3. God forbid. Ibid. 8. Shmirat Habrit has two aspects. One is that of the man whose marital relations is during the weekdays. And this is also called Shmirat Habrit, since his marital relations are permitted according to Torah, provided that he guards himself from transgression. God forbid. This is the aspect of the lower union, which can bring one to attain halakha in the Torah. The aspect of raisin, secrets. But there is someone whose relations are only on Shabbat, and this is the aspect of the upper union, and through this he attains also the aspect of Kabbalah and raisin diraisin. However, even one whose marital relations are only on Shabbat also needs to be very careful that his marital relations be in sanctity and that he keeps them on the level of Shmirat Habrit. How much more so do those on the lower level whose marital relations are also during the secular days definitely need to be extra careful to not blemish their Barat. God forbid. But in any case they should just not transgress the Torah. God forbid. When Shmirat Habrit is observed on both of these levels, then the honor of Hashem Yitbarach is complete and we attain all the above-mentioned aspects, such that we arrive at deepest understandings in the Torah. Ibid. 5-7. 9. Talking with others about self-discipline and the fear of heaven, inspiring them in searching for God, is a remedy for Keri. Nocturnal emission. 14-13. 10. The sexual urge is the comprehensive evil that encompasses all the different kinds of evil of the 70 nations. For every nation and language has a hold on a certain evil, meaning some bad characteristic or some bad desire that is particular to that nation. They're mired in that urge, and that's where they're under the grip of evil. But the sexual lust is the comprehensive vice where the evilest urges of all the evils of all the nations joins together. All these evils burn together to make a fire. And that's the blazing furnace that makes a person burn with sexual lust. But Hashem Yitbarach has separated us from the nations and elevated us over every tongue. So we need to keep apart from all of their wickedness, meaning from all those urges that are not appropriate for us, particularly the urge for sexual degeneracy, which is the comprehensive evil of all the nations as mentioned. For this is the essential difference and delineation between us and the nations, that we keep away from promiscuity. It is the very main thing that makes Yisrael holy. For a man has the power to divert his mind from this urge and to break it, and this essence of our holiness. 19-3. 11. The key to breaking all the cravings, especially promiscuous desires, which are the main thing that needs to be broken, is by Shlimat Lashon HaKodesh, perfection and mastery of the holy tongue. Hebrew. This means an abundance of holy speech, Torah, prayer, and having chats with your Maker. Even though you speak with your Creator in Yiddish, which is what we speak in this country, it's still counted as Lashon HaKodesh, because in fact when you speak your own words with your Maker, you need to specifically talk in your own language. As explained in elsewhere, Hitbadejit number 13, the point is to guard your tongue, sanctifying it with holy words, which is an aspect of Shlimat Lashon HaKodesh, and to guard your tongue so as to speak no evil words, which blemish the holy tongue. Then this sanctity of speech we've described will subdue the comprehensive evil as mentioned. Ibid. 12. Tikkun Habrit and Shlimat Lashon HaKodesh are interdependent. The more you speak holy words in the category of Lashon HaKodesh, the more you attain Shmirat Habrit, and the more the Tikkun Habrit, the more Shlimat Lashon HaKodesh. The same is true in reverse if someone blemishes. God forbid. Ibid. 13. The sexual lust, which is the comprehensive evil, is embodied by the serpent that seduced Eve and infected her with impurity, that is, referred to in various of our holy literature as the tempest spirit, the spirit of madness, the foolish woman. Prov. 14. It is the way of the serpent to beguile the Ruach HaKodesh, Holy Spirit of prophecy, which is Lashon HaKodesh, corresponding to Shmurat Habrit, and to infect her with impurity. This is the aspect of Gen. 4-7. For the Pedic, opening, misdeed crouches that this misdeed which is the serpent, lies in wait to be nourished from a person through Pegam Habrit. For main object of the Yester Hara is to make a person fail by this lust. Ibid. 14. You need to speak a great deal of holy words, which are the aspect of Shlimat Lashon HaKodesh. As David Hamelech said, Ps. 39-4, my heart waxed hot within me. Then I spoke with my tongue, using Lashon HaKodesh to cool off your passion. This saves you from the Ruach Sierra, tempest spirit, cooling you by a nocturnal emission. God forbid. Ibid. 5:15. All the bad treatment and humiliation that happens to a person is due to Pegam Habrit. And conversely by Tikkun Habrit he is treated with respect. Ibid. 3:16. Shlimat Lashon HaKodesh, which is Tikkun Habrit, can give you the ability to interpret dreams as did Yosef. Ibid. 4:17. The essence of Shlimat Lashon HaKodesh, which is the essence of Tikkun Habrit, which encompasses the repair of all the cravings and character traits, you can only receive from the mouth, the true Zaddikim. That's why you have to travel to the Zaddik and hear from his mouth specifically. A book of moral teachings or hearing from another who heard from him is not enough, because the very root of Shlimat Hadaber, mastery and perfection of speech, which is the aspect of Shlimat Lashon HaKodesh, which is the essence of its repair, you can only receive from his holy mouth specifically, because the source of the Yirah, fear of heaven, which is the key Shlimat Lashon HaKodesh, which is Tikkun Habrit, which is comprised of all the Tikkunim, is there. Ibid. 20-1:18. Because of Pegam Habrit a sword is let loose in the world. As in Lev. 26-25. The sword that executes the vengeance of the Barak. Leviticus chapter 26 verse 25. 20:10-19. Calling out to God in a loud voice is a Tikkun Habrit and bestows a revelation of the dot. Awareness and knowledge of heaven. Because at the outset when the Barat was Pagam, the dot was Pagam. Ibid. 20. For this reason we say the Haggadah in a loud voice. For the Haggadah is a Tikkun Habrit, and this is what brought the redemption. Because the Galut Matzrayim was over blemishing the Barat, as is brought in the Kabbalistic books. Also, the wine of the 4 cups of the Seder is Tikkun Ha-Dot, which is Tikkun Habrit. Ibid. 21. Tikkun Habrit Kadesh. To try to a Zaddik in the aspect of Abraham saves you from the face of Sitra Achra, which is the lust for money, which is a foreign devotion, which is sadness, melancholy, darkness, the dark face, death, and binds you to godliness, and you attain Ps. 16:11. Satiety of happiness with Hashem's face, for the light of the face of the living King dawns and shines on you. 23-2:22. By Tikkun Habrit you will be able to perceive the source of all the blessings and money, where at its root the abundance is entirely a pure and clear light, making the love of money just go away. Ibid. 5:23. By Tikkun Habrit you'll perceive Hiarat Panim, revelation of the face of God and his ways. Hadrat Panim, the splendor of God's face. See the Idra Rabbah, where the 13 attributes of the beard correspond to the 13 attributes of mercy. X. 34:6-7. Meaning your mind gets purified by the Torah and you're able to entirely explain and teach it according to the 13 principles of Torah exegesis, which are the very aspect of Hadrat Panim. This leads to the voice of your joyous, shouting, becoming so pure that just by the sound of your wordless cry the Holy Blessed One saves you at your time of trouble. Through this you attain peace, and you can even draw the whole world to the service of His blessedness. 27. 1-6. 24. The more negative commandment prohibitions a person has transgressed, God forbid, the more he taints the Shekhinah with damn nida, lit, banishment blood, menstrual blood, and sunders apart the Holy Blessed One and the Shekhinah. To repair all his transgressions in detail would be an extremely vast and difficult thing for the person, and it's impossible to repair them because there are many details and particulars in each prohibition. Therefore he needs to make the tikkun haklali, the general remedy, the comprehensive repair, which is tikkun habrit, restoration of the covenant, and thereby all the prohibitions he transgressed will be anyway get repaired. Even in places so narrow and fine that a repair cannot get there, by tikkun haklali he disperses repairs even there. 29. 3-4. 25. By tikkun haklali, which is tikkun habrit, the mochin, brains, state of awareness, are elevated, because tikkun ha-dat, repair of awareness and knowledge, is mainly according to the tikkun habrit. The main way that Yisrael can get close to their Heavenly Father is by Shmirat Habrit, guarding the Barit's purity. Ibid. 4. 26. Through tikkun habrit one receives livelihood without toil, in the aspect of manna. Ibid. 5. 27. All the while a person has not achieved tikkun haklali, it's forbidden for him to speak. He doesn't know how to use speech and he's unable to reveal hidden Torah. Whoever speaks at such a time transgresses. Lev. 19:16. Do not go tale-bearing among your people, and his. Prov. 11:13. Revealing secret is going tale-bearing. But with tikkun haklali he may feel free to speak. He can open his mouth and speech will shine with Torah. Ibid. 6:28. Pegam habrit can cause epilepsy. Choli nofel. God forbid. But tikkun habrit brings healing from epilepsy. Kalat ha-nephilah. Ibid. 7:29. When someone has not yet achieved tikkun haklali he needs to avoid drinking wine, because it strengthens in him the blood that's the source of the transgressions. God forbid. It can also harm his livelihood and he could become impoverished. But whoever achieves tikkun haklali, then on the contrary his drinking raises high his mochin, consciousness, and makes tikkun haklali even more complete. Ibid. 8:30. The main thing that keeps faith enduring is Shmirat Habrit. 31-3. 31. All the conduct, i.e. the laws and the behavior of the Galgalim, heavenly orbs, the aspect of charity, and all the conduct on earth, all the blessings and all the devolutions, what passes down from level to level, all depends of Shmirat Habrit. Ibid. 2:3. 32. Any trials a person has during travel are because of Pegam Habrit. But by Shmirat Habrit he won't suffer when traveling. Ibid. 4:33. By Shmirat Habrit one achieves freedom. Ibid. 5:34. There are two aspects of the Barit. The aspect of Abraham and of his servant Eliezer, master and servant, upper and lower firmament, Zadok and scholar. The one level is the guarding of the sanctity of the covenant. This is the upper Barit. The second level, the lower Barit, is keeping the laws of what is forbidden and permissible. Therefore one needs to learn the laws of what is forbidden and permissible in order to also attain this second aspect. When Shmirat Habrit is achieved on both these levels then, K17a, he is like the angel of Hashem Zevo, attaining perfect faith and conducting all the blessings and influxes as stated above. He is filled with love and good yearning and longing for Hashem Yitbarek. So he is able to form the letters of the Torah for goodness. Then the letters of the Torah themselves ask of him that he speak them with his mouth. so that he forms them for goodness. This makes it that his eating and dining is in the category of the Lechem Ha-Panim, the showbread. Then his table atones like the altar. And then all the stars and constellations and all the nations which are under their influence all toil for his livelihood. Ibid. 5, 6, 9. 35. The main test of a person is the sexual urge, which is the sum total of the lusts of all the 70 nations. When a person is in this trial, constituting a kind of exile, each person in whatever way he's facing it, then he needs to cry out a great deal of shouts to Hashem Yitbarek, just like a birthing woman who cries out due to the bitter pain of the birth pangs. Cry after cry amounting to at least 70. Zohar 3, 249b. This is how he needs to call out so many cries to Hashem Yitbarek. So much that Hashem Yitbarek has pity on him and he merits to overcome and break this craving. Then he'll merit to give birth to Mochin, brains, a level of consciousness. And then the secrets of the Torah will be open to him. Diramaran Megallion Li, what was hidden will be revealed to him. And every person, the more he withstands this test and breaks this craving, the more revelation in Torah and devotions he merits, even getting to see that the 70 faces of the Torah. 36, 1-2. 36. The remedy for sexual fantasies is to say the 12 words, Shema, Yisrael H, Elokeinu H, Echad, and Baruch Shem Kavod Malhuto Leolam Wad. Then his neshama spirit will be joined with the 12 Ps, 122-4, tribes of YH, and he separates his neshama from that of the Erev Ra. The mixed multitude, X, 1238. Who are the children of the harlot woman? Prav. 626. Who is the Shitcha Bisha? The wicked maidservant. T. Zohar 15a. For that's the source of this urge, which is the fusion of all the evil character traits. Ibid. 3. 37. When a person merely has a stray thought or fantasy, it will be effective enough for him to say these 2 verses we mentioned. But if he's someone who, God forbid, has thoughts of this all-encompassing evil lust all the time and he finds himself unable to rid himself of it, then when he's accepting the yoke of heaven, that is, when saying the Shema, he needs to also bring himself to shed tears, meaning to motivate himself to literally weep and shed tears as he's saying Shema, and blessed is the name of his glorious kingdom forever and ever. Ibid. 4. 38. When someone is mitakenot beret kadesh, achieving high purity, then his mochin, state of awareness, is complete, so he's able to understand what the Zaddik says. The better a person's tikkun, the better his religious perception. For this is a fundamental principle, that it is impossible for any person to perceive and retain what the Zaddik says unless he is properly mitakenot beret kadesh beforehand. But pegam habrit, damage to purity, damages his dot and moch to the extent that he's entirely unable to grasp and comprehend the Zaddik's utterances. He could even stumble by them if he follows after the crookedness within his heart and the foolish and nonsense doubts and questions that arise in his mind. Ibid 5. 39. Sexual temptation can literally make a person go out of his mind. This is why the medical authorities have written that castration is a cure for madness. Ibid. 6. 40. Once one breaks his sexual desire, he can easily break all his desires. This is why the tikkun for sexual impurity is called tikkun haklali, the comprehensive tikkun. The further a person is from sexual desire, the closer he comes to the radiance of Torah. The opposite is also true. God save us. This explains why, before a person can receive a new revelation of Torah, he is first tested in the crucible of this passion. If he stands up to the test, breaking the husk that precedes the fruit, he attains the fruit, namely revelation of the Torah and the aforementioned things. Ibid. 1, 2, 41. When your marital relations are in holiness and you break your craving soul. Nefesh Hamitaweh, i.e. the beastly soul. Nefesh Habahamiyut, so that, Nidarim 20b, it seems like you're being forced by a demon to act vigorously and quickly. Quote, thereby you will have viable children, because the reason children die, God forbid, has to do with the Nefesh Habahamiyut. 39, 42. Also your marital relations should be mainly on Shabbat evening, so you shall have living and viable children. Ibid. 43. Be careful not to listen to the words of someone who is wicked and also intelligent, because hearing his words incites wanton desire. For his speech is speech laden with poison, entering in the body of the listener. 43, 44. One who abuses the Berit has the aspect of bitter waters, polluted waters, impure seed. Then he's unable to pray. As in, Keys 35-10. All my bones declare, and good tidings plump the bones. Prov 15:30. Meaning he can't taste sweetness in the words he prays. Then a dog comes down and eats his offering. His prayer. T. Zohar number 3. This is the aspect of bitterness, corresponding to Prov 5-4. A two-edged sword, the aspect of Gehenna, which has two daughters that shout, give, give, single quote quote, Ibid. 30-15. But when one guards the covenant in purity, his prayers are in the category of sweet waters, the waters of purity, the seed of holiness. Then his words are sweet and beneficial, and when they go out of his lips and are heard by his ears, they insert their sweetness into his bones. And then his prayer is in the category of all my bones declare. Then a lion comes down and consumes his offering. 50-45. Now know this, the Azay Panim, brazen-faced, unabashed tyrants or opposers of the generation are the dogs, and they rise up and make opposition to an Ish Ha-Yisraeli who has not yet repaired his Berit perfectly. Ibid. 46. Whoever has been pajem his Berit should be wary of dogs and the sword. That is, weapons and battle. Ibid. 47. By subduing the Klippa, husk, impure spiritual forces of Amalek, which is Pegam Habrit, attaining Tikkun Habrit, Moshe merited the double bounty which corresponds to Lakem Mishnah for Shabbat, the double bread given for Shabbat. X. 16-5. Namely Mishnah Torah, Prov. 8:30 Yom is double. Through this, a person doing the same attains new Torah insights on Sabbath, 2 for 1, and Shabbat bestows blessing on all the rest of the worlds, dispatching its illuminations to all the levels, healing both spiritually, physically, rousing the world to repentance out of love, and then all the devout people of the generation are healed and they become admired in the eyes of people. Through this, each one receives new Torah insights that the Zadok bestows on Yom Shabbat. 58-4, 5, 7-9. 48. Hevel Ha-Yofi, the vanity of beauty. Prov. 31-30. Leads men, when they don't guard against the beauty of women, to perform Chen Shel Sheker, deceitful charms, false graces, putting on airs. For there are various forms of deceitful charm that a person does while standing, eating, talking with people and so forth. Whatever thing he does has another special charm for it. And all these kinds of Chen Shel Sheker come by not being cautious of female beauty. 60-3. 49. Hevel Ha-Yofi brings men to poverty. Ibid. 50. Wantonness can cause breaks in breathing, which is the neshama, which is the root of a person's vitality. This allows the bodily fluids to dry, which results in damage to the brain and the mind, because mental life depends on the fluids and fats in the body. This is why all forms of madness are caused fundamentally by sexual desire. As is known, Even other people that are not actually insane but who are very mentally feeble or confused. It's all because of wantonness, as it dries out the fluids and fats in the body, spoiling the intellect as mentioned. Ibid. 51. Yirah, awe, namely the fear of heaven, fear of your Ra, and fear of father and mother, saves you from the beauty of women and deceitful charms, and allows you to attain wealth. See fear. Ibid. 3, 4. 52. Whoever marries a woman for money is a fool and an idiot. Kiddushin 72. He damages and ruins his mind and intellect. His children will turn out to be immoral. 69. 53. Anonymous giving is a tikkun for nocturnal emission. God forbid. 83. 54. Pegam habrit stems from sadness and melancholy. Conversely, joy leads to shmarat habrit. See Simcha. 169. 55. Sexual desire is one of the three lusts that destroy and undermine fear of God in the heart, but by properly observing Chag Shavuot, we draw knowledge and awareness into the heart to repair this lust. Thereby we attain fear, prophetic inspiration, and prayer, and medicine becomes unnecessary, for we are healed as well by bread and water. And we are healed of illnesses when they're unknown and before they progress, etc. See festival and reverence. Likutei Maharan 2, 1-4, 5, 8-11. 56. A person's sexual desire is according to the milk he nursed as an infant. So great care should be taken that the baby nurse from a pious woman. For if the baby nurses from an immodest woman, then the sex drive will be stronger than needed in him. God forbid. Conversely, when he's nursed from a pious woman, he won't have such passion in him except the little that's needed for the mitzvah of the Torah. Ibid. 4. 57. Today publicity and fame go to unworthy leaders and mefarsamei shel sheker, who act like the Zadok and conduct themselves with prestige. The arrogance of the false leaders causes sexual immorality to become rife, leading to waste of seed. God forbid. As in Lev 15-3. Hektam basaro, his flesh is stopped up from his emission. It is his impurity. This is the chotam, the seal and stamp of the Sitra Achra. The only way to escape this is by the power of the guardians of the era, who are the Zadokim and his pious followers, who are called Maginei Eretz, guardians of the land. They wage a fierce battle in this matter, but they transform Hektam Basaro to the Chotam di Kedusha, the seal of holiness, which is the aspect of Tefillin, which are the Hitnotza at Ha Mochin, the dawning and shining of the brains, and state of awareness of Hy. For the main repair of the Moch goes according to breaking this lust, meaning when fantasies attack people very strongly and could result in an impure emission. God forbid. Which is the aspect of Hektam Basaro. But they strengthen themselves well and drive away those fantasies and draw on themselves holy thoughts. By this they transform Hektam Basaro to the aspect of Tefillin, which are the Chotam di Kedusha, which is the Hitnotza at Ha Mochin. So from these Maginei Eretz every person needs to receive power to defeat the fantasies and reverse them to Mochin di Kedusha as mentioned. And this, everyone needs to know, that the more the fantasies attack him, when he defeats them and flees from them and breaks them, by this he does an enormous tikkun and raises the Kedusha from the Klippa, and draws the aspect of the Tefillin sanctity, which are the Hitnotza at Mochin, to know and to make known his blessed power in the world. And the more and the greater it attacks him, the more the tikkun of the Tefillin is accomplished, when he matches the powers of their campaign to break them. And it's only for this reason that those bad and foreign fantasies and ideas are sent upon him, in order that they be turned opposite and that from them specifically be made the tikkun of the Tefillin as mentioned. Ibid. 6, 7, 58. By breaking sexual fantasies we attain tikkun Ha Mochin as mentioned. This results in a dream brought by an angel, and then is he called Adam, man, for he's on the level of in our likeness. Dimutinu, Gen 126. Conversely, when the mochen are not pure, then the dream is brought by a demon. God forbid. And then he's like a beast. Kabahimat Nidmu. Ps. 49-13. Ibid. 9:59. The food a person eats also influences his dreams, so sometimes the dream is damaged toward a dream brought by a demon, God forbid, due to the food he ate, and it could cause him an impure emission. God forbid. The remedy for this is to be happy, to strengthen oneself in being always happy. Ibid. 10:60. There are times when, God forbid, an impure emission results from unfit rabbis and judges perverting the mishpat, justice. The remedy for this is Kishur Hamerkaba, assembling the chariot, a reference to what the early sages instituted. To say before going to sleep, quote, in the name of H God of Yisrael, to my right, Mikhail, etc. This is Kishur Hamerkaba. This is a segula for being saved from that defilement that is caused by perversion of the mishpat by the unfit judges. Ibid. 11:12:61. A person's moch, mind, and dot, knowledge, awareness, are the shield against sexual desire. For there are three mochen in a person, and each one is a barrier deployed against this impulse. Where this impulse derives its strength from is the spirit of folly. Therefore, every person needs to know and remember this, that every time these fantasies want to overpower him, God forbid, he should run away immediately from this spirit of folly unto divine knowledge and spread out the partitions of the mind against this lust just like a physical divider. Because the true divine knowledge shields against this lust just like a physical divider. Understand this, for it is not something that cannot really be explained. Each individual just needs to see for himself how to escape from and divert his mind from this spirit of folly, and pull himself to his spiritual powers, which are the partitions against them. 8-2, 62. Anger and cruelty damage the dot, leading to a moral desire. God forbid. Then prayer falls into the aspect of din, severe judgment, and the sitra achra, forces of evil, nourishes from it. Then we need a super powerful person to pray prayer in the category of din, and thereby everything is repaired. See there. Ibid. 63. Every member of Yisrael, according to his purity and sanctity, is the aspect of Mashiach that he has. Now, he needs to carefully guard against damaging this aspect of Mashiach he has. The main thing for that is to be on guard against sexual immorality. So he needs to guard himself very carefully from even a whiff of sexual immorality, because it damages his personal aspect of Mashiach. 32-2, 64. The spirit of Mashiach produces a spirit of kinah, zeal, jealousy and vengeance for Hashem's honor, that zealously protests wherever there is the blemish of sexual immorality. God forbid. So even where there isn't an actual sexual misdeed but just some kind of blemish, it's also zealous over that, because the enormous sanctity and purity of Mashiach's level is incompatible with even just a blemish of sexual immorality, so it's very zealous against that. God save us. Ibid. 3:65. When the couple, the pair, namely the man and wife, are so kosher, religiously fit, virtuous, pious, without any shemitz pasul, trace, blemish, suspicion of flaw, that their relations are performed in great kashrut and kedusha, holiness, then their relations also unify the upper worlds, Yud and He, so their relations are an utterly precious thing. Ibid. 4:66. One who attains tikkun habrit, utmost purity, knows how to send forth the words of prayer like arrows from a bow. Then the ray of Mashiach starts to shine, and becoming a truly free man, he acquires the sanctity of Shabbat. Attaining the culmination, Tachlit, of knowledge, he sheds his leprous body, which is from the skin of the serpent, and is clothed in Shabbat garments, a holy body from Gan Eden. His mazel rises to the top, and he merits wealth. His good inclination takes power, and sadness and cynicism are eliminated. Then he is able to raise up those who have fallen into degenerate loves and fears, i.e. love and fear of anything but God, raising them up to holy loves and fears. He drives away the darkness from their eyes, and then their eyes see wonders. So it's considered as if he created the world. This leads to elevating all the requests and supplications that we pray, and awakening the redemption which depends on the heart, eliminating the leaven and hametz of the human heart's inclination for evil, which remains from his youth. Then the heart can be ardent in Torah learning with flames of love and mighty waters, which are the foreign loves and fears, cannot quench this passion. Song 8-7. The Shekhinah with its wings covers Yisrael's blood, i.e. being embarrassed for one's sins constitutes as if his blood was spilt. With this love, so that the wicked seed, which are the concept of the floodwaters, cannot rule over them. All this is attained through Tikkun Habrit. 83-67. Pegam Habrit. Sexual impurity makes it hard for a person to find his mate, and even if he finds his mate, she'll be oppositional and unwilling to follow his will. But the themes of Elul bring repair to Pegam Habrit. Thereby he can merit to find his mate, and she can be inclined to his will. See the secrets of the Elul themes in LM number 6. 87-68. It's an enormous repair for Mikra Layla, nocturnal emission, to say the 10 chapters of Psalms on the same say it happened. And they are Mikdam LaDavid, 16, LaDavid Maskell, 32, Ashrei Maskell Eldal, 41, Kayil Tarag, 42, Lamnat Siach al Tashchet, 59, Lamnat Siach al Yejathan, 77, Tefillah Lamash, 90, Hoda Lashem Karu Bishmo, 105, Al Naharo Bavel, 137, Hallelu Bakodsho 150. Anyone who says them on the same day need no longer have any fear at all of the terrible damage of the Mikra. God forbid, because it's definitely repaired by this. 92-69. When sexual fantasies arise in his mind and he breaks his desire and averts his mind from them. This is the core of his teshuvah and repair for Pegam Habrit that he was Pajem previously. Each person, doing this detachment, relative to his level and circumstances, because this is now actually a type of Teshuvat Ha Mishkal, the weighty repentance, a suffering that a person undertakes to counterbalance the sin. By this he frees all the sparks of holiness that were entrapped by Pegam Habrit, which allows him to attain Tikkun Habrit, which allows him to purify his intellect and voice as we've mentioned above in number 23. And he attains peace, by which he's able to draw all the people of the world to serving his blessedness. See Thoughts and Fantasies number 2, 27-8, 70. Grave sites of the true Tzaddikim are holy with the actual same Kedusha of Eretz Yisrael. And Eretz Yisrael is a major repair of Pegam Habrit. Therefore a person needs to make effort to get to their grave sites, for their grave sites have the same holiness as Eretz Yisrael is mentioned, and this is a big repair for Pegam Habrit. 109-71. Today it is easy to withstand tests, because there have already been many Tzaddikim and proper men that have withstood so many severe temptations of this lust. And they've so broken the klippa of this lust that nowadays it's easy to pass a test, even for a simple person, if he chooses to care about and have pity on his life, both in this world and in the everlasting Olam Haba. Sishoharan 114. Banim, children. 1. Praying vigorously is a segula, a supernatural aid, for having children. Likutei Maharan 48. 2. Sukkah is a segula for having children. Ibid. 3. Eretz Yisrael is a segula for having children. Ibid. 4. By making efforts to bring people to Hashem Yitbarek and the true Zadokam, a person merits having children. 39. 5. When your ZWWG relations are performed in purity and holiness and you break your nefesh hamitaweh, the life force of the craving, which is the nefesh havahamiyut, beastly life force, and you make it so that, Nidarim 20b, it seems like you're being forced by a demon to act vigorously and quickly. Quote, thereby you will have viable children, protected from premature death. God forbid. Ibid. 6. Also, the main relations need to be on Shabbat night, in order that you should have viable children. Ibid. 7. Raw ayin, an evil eye, demise of the heart, makes a person not merit leaving a male descendant. 54-4. 8. Lashon hara, slander, makes a person not merit leaving a male descendant. Ibid. 5. 9. A segula for having children that live and last is both the man and his wife before the relations should recite the section Yubareje Chadshikim. Num. 28, 11-15. Also if the child is sick, God forbid, the man and wife should also say this section Yubareje Chadshikim. 151. 10. Praise and thanks to Hashem Yitbarek, as well as learning Torah laws, and all the more so if one is able to attain new insights in them, leads to easy childbirth. And Tomkei Orita, who support Talmudei Chachamim monetarily, lead to easy childbirth. 2. 1. 1-3. 11. A segula for a woman with difficult childbirth is to say Mizmor L'Tadah. Ps. 100. Ibid. 6. 12. It's also a segula for a woman with difficult childbirth to perform a great deal of chesed, namely to perform a lot of tzedakah and gemilat chasadim, charity and acts of kindness. Ibid. 3:13. Whoever has no children should make it his normal practice to be joyful in the joy of a mitzvah, learning Torah and performing all the mitzvot in joy. Let his joy be so great that he dances from joy. Through this he'll merit having children. 81:14. Amuna, faith, leads to having children, is gematria. Sishoharan 34:15. It's better for your children's development that you have distance from them. That is, don't be too glued to them. Don't play with them all the time. Don't pay over much attention to them at all. T.N. It's been noted these are 3 increasing degrees. Do only what you have to in order to bring them up in serving Hashem as the times come for them to grow, but don't play with them too much. 59:16. If you are joyous it saves your children from death. God forbid. 65. Bidachon, trust and confidence. 1. Bachanei Ha-Dor, the guarantors of the era, those with deep trust in Hashem, are like the reproductive organs, because all the births and blessing are drawn through Bidachon, trust, surety, confidence. Attaining it is by hearing Sipore Masiyat, stories, from true Zadokam, who have the power to awaken people from their sleep through their storytelling. This causes the speech to emerge with great power, as those that were in the category of sleep, who were like actual mute people and completely unable to speak words of holiness now wake up from their sleep and start speaking with great power, and this speech causes the Bidachon to grow strong. This leads to barren women being visited with children and people gaining reverence. See Yirah, 60-6, 8, 2. By Bidachon and Hashem Yitbarek, looking to Hashem Yitbarek alone and putting your trust in Him, you make a vessel, namely dimension and time, to receive the blessing, The bounty and sustenance will come to you as and when you need it. 76. 3. There are higher and higher levels of trust reaching unto infinity. The greater a person's wisdom and understanding, the deeper his trust, the more trusting he is, the more charity he will do. Thereby he'll perfect and repair the faculty of speech, which is the marker of a man. 225. 4. There's a bidachon of the Sitra Achra, as in Prov. 25-19. Mibtach Bog, trust in a betrayer. The making of marriage bonds in holiness and purity causes this false trust to be broken like a piece of earthenware. This is what's hinted in the custom of breaking a piece of earthenware at the marriage ceremony, as explained there. 60-8. To explain the concept a little more fully, the essence of bidachon is trusting in Hashem and doing good, as it's written, Ps. 37-3. Batach bi wase tab, trust in Hashem and do good. Meaning, one should never let himself be diverted from his Torah study, prayer or devotions because of worries or toil for sustenance. Just engage in Torah and devotions and trust in Hashem Yitbarek that he will sustain him every day of his life. And if he's not on the level of this kind of bidachon, to withdraw entirely from worldly matters, and he wants to engage in a trade or craft, nevertheless let him fix a time for Torah and pray at appropriate times and carry out all his other religious obligations. He should not allow himself to be pushed off course by worries about earning a living. Just trust in Hashem. When it comes to giving charity and helping others or spending whatever is needed for the various mitzvah, he should trust in Hashem, that Hashem Yitbarek will fill his need and Dut 15:10. Because of this thing Hashem will bless him. Even if he's aware that his deeds are not what they ought to be, he should not fall from his bidachon because of this and think, who am I to trust in and rely on Hashem seeing that I have done so much that was wrong? Just let him trust in Lamb 3:22. Hashem's kindness which does not cease, in his love that doesn't end, that he loves him too and he will feed him and sustain him. 4. Peace 145-9. Hashem is good to all. A person should not trouble himself with worries and toil for sustenance, on account of being low in his own eyes. He should just hold fast in bidachon no matter what level he's on, as long as his intention is for the sake of heaven. This and things like this describe holy bidachon, but wrongdoing, God forbid, and all the more so, theft, deception, or forgery, falsity, and smuggling contraband, in the hope that Hashem Yitbarek will protect him and help him succeed, and without being discovered. This is the bidachon of the Sitra Achra, as in Prov 25-19. Trust in a betrayer. This kind of bidachon is like a hopelessly broken earthenware. Even if a person takes business risks that are far beyond him and he borrows heavily from many people to do so, trusting that HY will help him to complete the business venture. This is also in the category of bidachon of the Sitra Achra. Now just the opposite, a person needs to have such a strong bidachon that even if his business is not on a large scale, nevertheless Hashem Yitbarek will give him his proper income. Anyone with intelligence will infer many lessons from within our words. How to flee from the bidachon of the Sitra Achra, which is contrary to the teachings of the Torah, and strengthen himself in holy bidachon regardless of his opinion of his level. As mentioned above, Ibid, Bushah, bashfulness. 1. A person needs to have a great bashfulness, litbayesh, before Hashem Yitbarek, to never act against his will, God forbid, and all the more so, not commit a mistake or transgression, God forbid. So Bushah, bashfulness is a very great virtue, for the root of yirah, fear, is Bushah, and if he doesn't draw this holy Bushah on himself in this world, he will be ashamed. Mitbayesh, in the coming world. which is hardest of all the punishments. For the torment of busha, shame, in the coming future is utterly hard, and it's even harder than the most bitter genom. And even every tzaddik will be ashamed before his colleague that is of greater level than him. And our rabbis C.L. said of this, B. 75a, woe for that shame, woe for that embarrassment. How much more so will sinners be ashamed? God forbid. It's impossible to imagine in this world the enormous torment and bitterness of that shame in the coming world. God save us. And when a person attains holy busha, to commit no errors as mentioned, thereby he attains prayer, joy, holy boldness, and to follow and enwrap himself in true tzaddikim, and receive emunah from them in total perfection. 22-3, 4, 9, 11. 2. A person needs to accustom himself to talk with his Creator with such honesty, until it truly awakens his heart, until he starts speaking with the heat of his heart the words of truth that are in his heart with excitement for teshuvah, until he sees his lowliness and the greatness of the Creator, until he's utterly bashful before his blessedness. For until now he has cast his errors behind his back and ignored them. But now that he knows them, great bashfulness has entered him for his great sins versus the great and the ruler, the essence and root of all the worlds. And at first this busha isn't actually on his face, for his mistakes dull his intellect and awareness by the spirit of folly that's in him. Therefore before attaining complete teshuvah he doesn't have so much dot to recognize the greatness of the blessed Creator so much, until he's as bashful as he ought to be in accord with the enormity of his sins and the greatness of the blessed Creator whom he's sinned against, but afterwards when he makes teshuvah and removes the folly from him and his intellect joins him, then he's more bashful and the busha is on his face. And this busha is the aspect of the light of the tefillin, which are a sign of cleaving to the blessed Creator. And it's the aspect of radiant light of the face. And by means of this busha all his sins are forgiven and he glues himself to the Etz Hahayim. See Dibur number 7, 35-5, 6. 3. Whoever has a zut, brazenness, of the Sitra Achra, and is not mitbayesh from Hashem Yitbarek, Zadokei Emet, Yirim, and Kasherim, the pious, it's a definite sign that the feet of his ancestors did not stand on Har Sinai. And he blemishes the sanctity of the tefillin, which are the aspect of the Etz Hahayim. Instead he has attached himself to the tree of death, and he's expelled from Gan Eden and will descend to Genom. But if he does teshuvah and is ashamed of his sins, thereby he's forgiven immediately, and he brings back on himself the dot and the mochin, and he drives the spirit of folly out of him, and attains the aspect of the light of the tefillin, which are the aspect of the radiant light of the face, the aspect of the Etz Hahayim, etc. As mentioned, 38-6. 4. The essence of teshuvah is through busha, because a person needs to be very bashful. 4. A transgression is definitely an enormous shame. God forbid. For sin is not pertinent nor appropriate for Yisrael at all. For the Ish Yisraeli at his root is entirely far from sin. So it's definitely unseemly for Ish Yisraeli to sin. But even when he wants to do a mitzvah, it's proper for him to also have great busha. For what merit does he have that he should be privileged to do the mitzvah? How can he be so brazen to enter the king's palace and do a mitzvah, and estimate in his mind who it is before whom he does the mitzvah, and also the virtue of hte mitzvah, for the enormous value of the mitzvah's virtue is infinite. So it's definitely proper that a huge busha fall on him when he comes to do some mitzvah. If he'll just look at himself and see that he's utterly far from Hashem Yitbarek, and he has no merit to do a mitzvah, so how does he come and grab the tefillin, which are the king's crowns, and suddenly lay them on his head? Definitely it's proper for a great busha to fall on him. And if a person had busha, he'd be mitbayesh before his blessedness to even take some food into his mouth. For what merit does he have that he should have food? But the essence of busha, one attains by seeing himself with the true tzaddikim, and thereby he attains teshuvah. For the essence of teshuvah is by means of busha as mentioned. And through this he attains true anawa, humility, which is the aspect of Moshe Rabbeinu's anawa, which is essence of the life, the aspect of everlasting life of the coming world. 272. Bagadim, clothing. 1. You need to take good care of your clothes. Never treat them carelessly, and guard them well against getting stained or dirty. For a person's clothes themselves judge him if he does not show them the proper respect. The greater the man, the more he has to care for his clothes. Because the higher his level, the more they're exacting with him. 29-3. 2. A person who fails to protect his garments from stains causes separation between the Holy One. Blessed is he, and his Shehinah. Then the rule is taken by the evil maidservant, which is the evil kingship, the forces of evil, and such a person is like a rebel against God's kingship, and thereby his livelihood only comes by great exertion and difficulty. Ibid. 3:5-3. By making a beautiful garment for a tzaddik, the Shehinah is clothed in radiant garments, and the harsh judgments are sweetened. 42:4. Keep your clothes always intact and never torn. For when clothes are torn, God forbid, it's a flaw in the protection. For clothes are in the secret of the chasmal. Ezekiel chapter 1 verse 27. Which is protection. 127. 5. The accuser and the sitra achra grab a person by his clothes, meaning they burden people by trouble for their clothing and dress. For the trouble people have to go to for their clothing can easily become a serious distraction and hinder him from serving Hashem Yitbarek. But someone whose heart is firm in Hashem will not be concerned about this. And even if he has nothing to wear, he will still do what he can serve in serving Hashem to the full extent of his capability, until Hashem looks down from the heavens and sees. Sishoharan 100.